nice skin, so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Life Gorgeous. Some people call me Lord Kilby. Okay. Others like Craigers. My name is Craig Kilborn. This is where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. One of my favorite guests and one of the focus group's favorite guests, Gibby, Mike Gibbons. Look at him. There he is. Woo!
Here we go.
Good morning. Good morning.
Showing up sick. You know, I thought about it today. In 5 years on the Late Late Show, I think I was never sick a full day in 5 years, but I had to leave once. I had to leave twice. One, I did not know what a migraine was.
Oh,
I thought I was dying. And I remember finally just not being able to do it anymore. And in the CBS parking lot, I had to stop by a news van and I got sick in the parking lot.
migraine?
Yeah, but I just thought I was dying.
Oh. Now wait, did you vomit or did you just have a migraine as a shooting, piercing headache?
Shooting, piercing headache, unbelievable sensitivity to light, all these things now that are just obvious. But I know I threw up on the wheels of a CBS news van on the walk to my car. And then the whole thing was, I mean, if people who get migraines know, like, and also during that time, it was like, we're at war with Iraq. There's all these prisoners. And, occasionally, I was young in my early 30s and you're kind of tough. Like, I wonder how I'd stand up under pressure. It's like, at that point, it'd be like, ask me, I'll tell you any secret I know.
Exactly.
And it was just a headache.
No, my mom got migraines. That's how I learned about migraines. And they were searing pain. And I don't know what it's from. But, she did get in a car accident when she was 2.5 years old. I have no idea if that was it. Her mom passed away and that, I'm not to bring you down or anything.
Oh my God.
But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would get migraines. And there was, I know you're a big sports fan. There was
from the goggles.
One of Magic Johnson's greatest games in the NBA Finals. He had won the NCAA championship at Michigan State, I think as a sophomore, I believe. And then he went as a rookie to the LA Lakers and they beat the Sixers. And in Philadelphia, Dr. J, Magic had 42, 15, and 8, points, rebounds, assists. Kareem could not get on the plane from LA because of migraines. and then so Magic had to play center and did all this stuff. But I'm thankful I've never had a migraine because I hear but I don't understand because my mom would get them reoccurring. You said you got one migraine and then it went away forever?
No, then I got them in my 30s, and then there's a ton of pills now for them, and there's this one pill that is unbelievable, and it's not strong or anything, in Imitrex or something. It was like one of the first ones.
Yeah,
and oh my God, that would be like when you see junkies who need, like, if I felt that migraine coming on or it was on.
Yeah,
there's incredible sensitivity to light, so you just want to burrow yourself in a dark room.
Kareem had to stay in a dark room, and my mom, she said, I have to close my eyes and not look at my pretty boy, Craig.
My God.
Have to go into darkness.
So she had it far harder than I did. Yeah.
Wait a second. I don't want to pass judgment on you because I don't do that. But when you started talking about the pills to take to relieve this, I go to this place of Gibby's the kind of guy like Brett Favre that would get addicted to painkillers. Are you that kind of guy? You seem like, and I like you, but you seem like you might have an addiction problem.
No, it's the opposite. I've taken them recreationally. It used to be a thing like, 15, 20 years ago. Like I'd love to take a Vicodin, at the bar, just life. My joke used to be every time I would take a Vicodin, I'd realize how depressed I was 40 minutes ago, and never a problem. Never would take more than one. Then I've never gotten them illegally. I've had a hip replacement, so that's how I would get them. But I would only have what was prescribed to me. I got really lucky. Same with you with drinking. I love it, and I think I don't drink half the time. Like I don't drink when I have my daughters half the time, and I use that as, let's let the liver catch up. and I don't drink for 2 weeks a month, basically.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I cut way down. I actually had a vodka last night, first one since Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I haven't had a drink in a little bit.
Good for you. So there's
But I've been
first
sick.
of all, the elephant in the room. I need to your reaction. Where were you when you heard Ricky Rubio was retiring? This was about a week ago.
I know.
For the people listening, Mike is one of those heterosexual men who's not really into sports. And we joke because he used to follow Lou Carnesecca. But Ricky Rubio's 33. He's back in Spain, and we're going to get to Spain in a moment. There's a big story here, breaking news from Mike Gibbons. But Ricky decided he's retiring, and people don't know this, but Ricky was a prodigy, and he was playing professionally at age 15 in Spain, in Europe. And he decided to retire, and everyone loved him because of his positive attitude and his maestro on the court. He would throw a lot of creative passes. Go ahead.
I'm looking up Ricky Rubio.
So you don't know who he is, right?
Cavs, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he jumped around. He was with the Timberwolves.
I don't know Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, he was with the Timberwolves. And
he sounds like a little gym rat, like Chris Mullin.
Oh, Chris Mullin was a great shooter. Ricky's a 6'4" guard, but Chris Mullin was a 6'7" forward. Ricky was flashy like a Pete Maravich, but Ricky, he didn't shoot particularly well. That was his downfall. But he was a great passer and unselfish and there was a guy on our team named Alexei Shved. It was a European player. Yeah, I know. And he had a sour face, and there's this famous quote. It's a video. And Ricky comes out of the timeout, and he's mic'd up for the NBA, and he goes, "Hey, change your face, be happy, smile." And now they play it in local radio in Minnesota. Be happy, smile, change your face, change the face.
I love change your face.
Isn't that great? So here's the big news, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Gibbons, I wanted him on our Christmas holiday spectacular with Goldie, and then it was Alex Sulkin filling in. They were great. Yeah. And you said, I'm in Barcelona. And I got excited because you're a bit of a world traveler. Before we get to this, I want to ask you this. I'm going to set the over-under. I don't travel as much as you. I want you to guess how many countries outside of the United States I've been to. And I'm going to set yours, because I think you're more of a traveler, at 11 over-under. And I'm going to take the over for you. So how many countries do you think Craigers has been to? And I can tell you, it was last time I traveled internationally was in the 90s, because I don't like flying, man.
I didn't know that. I think Goldie on that podcast say that you didn't like flying. I didn't know that.
I hate turbulence.
Talked about wanting to die before taking off, as if a flight would matter. Like,
oh my God! Wait a second. As we jump around, there were these two jokes I did with those guys. But you said you watched part of that podcast or most of it, because there was a
no, most of it for sure.
Okay, so I don't know if you got to the end, but I did a Life Gorgeous quiz. But I did this question, and I wrote them thinking you would be on. But they both answered this question. I started the question, I don't
know if I saw the quiz. Go ahead.
Okay, if you were a girl. Okay, so right there, I think somebody might say I'm not participating in this hypothetical. But if you were a girl, who would you rather kiss, Aaron Rodgers or Zach Wilson? And because Zach Wilson is a good-looking guy, and Aaron Rodgers, and there was no hesitation. Alex Sullivan goes, Aaron Rodgers, I only kiss winners. and then Goldie's like, Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers is a fool. This is a month ago, and it was just funny because I thought someone might say, Craig, I'm not playing your little hypothetical. I'm not playing if you were a girl, who would you kiss?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But anyways, the other one that was funny, which I really liked, and it might not translate, but I said, Alec, Goldie is sober now, and I'm proud of him, but do I think he's going a little overboard? He goes, of course you think he's going overboard. I said, no, we don't joke about this. This is very admirable, which was funny because they thought it is admirable, but it is a little overboard. Anyway,
does Sulkin drink? I don't even know.
He does. He actually drinks, I want to say bourbon. Yeah, I want to say bourbon.
I've started doing that a little bit, which I never
it's
did
too
in my
late.
life.
It's too late. I mean, all the young people drink bourbon. I can just tell you, I drank single malt scotch in my 30s. It's too hard on your body. Stick to tequila, vodka, and red wine, and you're golden.
I make an old fashioned with and
Sugar,
tequila,
yeah,
and with a little bit of mezcal in it, and it's great.
Big ass ice cube or what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One other thing before we get to Barcelona.
Well, we were going to do that over under.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I just wanted to say one other thing as I jump around, and I apologize.
No worries.
It's the agile mind. When you see my warm background,
yeah,
because I was hoping that, the Sulk and even Goldie would do the same thing. Do you say, oh, I think I should probably be inspired to get maybe a warm wallpaper in my room when I do the podcast? Does this inspire you to do anything, or you just ignore it?
Do you think a medieval lamp would help this room? Because this hospital room, I don't know if the medieval lamp is enough. That gothic lighting. It's
such a contrast as people watch this to see the two things. But these other people have pretty bland backgrounds as well. You could put a poster up back there. I know you have a million posters.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
A Jack Daniel's dartboard.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
I do have a warmer, nicer background that I do most of them from. Construction happens to be tearing up a wall looking for a leak. I'm in an apartment building looking for a leak in the wall. So it's a construction site downstairs. But I know I did the last one from here too. It's light and airy. There are no lights on.
You look good. You look like you've lost weight. Maybe it's got a haircut.
I'm sick. I apologize for my voice. I can hear
your voice sounds fine. You said you had a head cold. You're playing hurt.
I am.
And I just want people to know I like to paint the picture, but you're close to the ocean over there. You're close to the Pacific. You're close to you're in Santa Monica. You're in one of the, we're not going to say where, but you're near the boardwalk.
Main Street, which I love.
Yeah. It's a very, I used to live over there in the late 80s. Oh, that was so much fun. That was so freeing before I became Craig Kilborn.
Well, that's getting to the over-under. You were always busy out of the gate. So even in college, I bet there wasn't a lot of downtime because you played ball, and that's like kind of a full-time job in addition to college. Then you just hit the ground running, kind of. I mean, there was some, but you were at ESPN before long and doing stuff up in Carmel. So, I mean, are we counting Canada and Mexico?
Yes. I've been to both. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so
two.
I assumed you were in those two.
I was in Cancun once when I was at ESPN. I took a week off and went to Cancun with a friend of mine, beautiful friend Eva from Poland, and she was in LA, and I knew her.
Nice.
She made Gisele Bundchen look like a boy. I always use that. But anywho,
the last thing she said is, "It's Eva." Slams the door.
EWA, Eva, old chef. Okay, I won't say everything. I'm saying too much. But she's slender, great legs, great kick my ass in tennis. She was a swimmer, and she was the greatest.
I think you never went east to Asia. Australia. That's an interesting one. But I think you've been to Europe. And when you go to Europe, I say you bag about 2 or 3 countries. I'm going to put you at 5.
Okay, that's very good.
It was a low guess.
No, there are a couple things that are surprising. And what I like about this is we worked together for a number of years, but there are things about each other we don't know. I didn't know you blacked out in college. You told me that once. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Getting back to my non-drinking problem.
I was kidding. No, so in the 90s, this was kind of weird. When I was in Monterey before I went to ESPN, there was a friend of my brother's who had some money. He had made some money in Silicon Valley, and he was a mutual friend, and we 3 of us. My brother did not go because he was working. This is the one that's going to surprise you.
All right,
Rio de Janeiro and Buenos Aires.
Wow. I think I remember you saying that.
Yeah, we stayed at this hotel that they said Sinatra stayed at, but I love bossa nova music, and it was interesting. We didn't stay in Buenos Aires as much, but it was mainly Rio and the beach, and it was pretty crazy. And those are stories off camera. But
got it.
I'm in the 90s when I was at the Daily Show. I believe you met the woman named Tova, and we went to
of course.
We went to London, and that was probably my I'm an Anglophile, so that was very enjoyable. And then going back in the 80s when I was living in LA, I was living up in Menlo Park area, staying with my brother. I went with this. This was very funny. I can't remember if I told you this. There was a church group. This was kind of like there. I don't know if you ever went to church when you were growing up, and then you kind of fade out, and then you could become agnostic or atheist. Does that ring a bell, or how were you?
Well,
religious?
yeah, they also priest. I went to Catholic school in 7th grade. Iona, which I know you're familiar with the franchise.
Yes.
They hit me. So that really straightened me out in terms of my strong disbelief.
Do you know how many times at
organized
the
religion.
Late Late Show I just wanted to give you just a little, come on, wake up, Mike, finish that script. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
So you're saying the hitting did not help, is what I'm hearing.
And no, I think it did. It absolutely cleared my head of any respect for organized religion. And then I've just been proven right, of course, every single turn in the world.
So out of college, I knew one of my brother's friends was going to a church, and he said, "Oh, there's this group. It's like an Athletes in Action. There's this guy. He's a coach, and they're going to go play ball in Europe and spread the word, the gospel." And I said, "Oh, I used to go to church or whatever, and I just wanted to play ball in Europe."
Yeah.
And I was supposed to raise money, and I said, "No, I'll just buy a ticket." Now this is unreal. This is probably 87 or 86, 85, 86 or something. $200 round trip, Tower Air, San Francisco to Stuttgart.
Wow.
And then everyone else flew into Geneva. So I took a train up to Geneva. So I was in Stuttgart, Germany. I met the team in Geneva, and then we went to a little town in France called Ferney-Voltaire. And we played ball, and there was varying degrees of religious guys. The two coaches who ran it were religious. And then the rest of us were like, one guy said, "Hey, did you see the new penthouse with Madonna in it?"
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they would go to the clubs and try to pick up girls in Europe and in Geneva and the topless beach and all this fun, right? So I've been to, I guess there's more than I realized. There's one extra country. So I've been to Paris, France. We went to Paris, France. I've been to Stuttgart, and I've been to Switzerland, and then I've been to London, and then those other countries. So that's whatever that is. That's 7
Did
or
the Stuttgart transpo, was it a train through Austria?
I don't remember. That's a good question. I just know when I was on the train, I was trying to talk to these guys that were my age, and they didn't speak any English, and I didn't speak any of their language. And we both felt helpless, but we were doing weird. We were trying to communicate,
Yes.
the two guys and myself on the train ride, and we couldn't. And I said, "This is really weird."
All they
Anyways.
understood was that Madonna spread in Penthouse. They did get that.
Oh my God. That was hilarious. So I'm going to say you've been to over 11 countries, because I think every time I see you, you're traveling in the United States, you're going up to Yosemite or wherever the hell you go.
Yeah, I like doing that.
So how many countries have you been to? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, I think it's more than 11, but I'm not like a well-traveled person in my estimation has probably been to like Africa.
Yeah.
I have not,
Japan,
even Morocco. Like for instance,
Yes.
This was my first time, right? Japan. I have been to Japan, but this was my first time ever in Spain, which is, I've been in the airport, but that was really crazy because I've been told my whole life, or like my whole adult life, that Spain will be one of my favorite countries based on how people know me and all that. And it was fantastic. But a few years after you were playing basketball there, I did the very typical Eurail pass with my girlfriend after college. And we were in Austria.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, by the way, just backtracking a second, can you imagine planning that basketball trip? No email, no internet.
Yeah.
I don't know how, like you show up. What if something goes wrong and you're like this kid from Minnesota now sitting in Stuttgart and there's no way to communicate. I don't know how it was done at all.
I still don't remember in the 90s, just being in the United States, how I would contact people when I was driving and then going to a bar and saying, "Hey, meet me here." I guess it was all payphones, but I just don't remember using payphones all the time. So it is kind of weird.
We had a system in New York where it would be like, I'll be on the last car on the subway. So you would meet if like let's say you were all going to the Upper West Side to drink.
Yeah.
And then I came up with a system. So I worked at HBO right before, like a year before I met you. I was in New York working for HBO. And the system we all had, and we would go out a lot in the roaring 90s in New York City. It was like the best time. And so I would change I'd change my outgoing message on my HBO machine. Like, listen, we left the high life. We're over at like the Bear Bar, or whatever, whatever it was, the Raccoon Lodge. And
that's good.
Oh yeah, no. So everyone could be like, they get to the high life on the Upper West Side, and no one's there except David Spade. And you're looking around, that was his bar. And you're looking around, and then so you would just call my HBO number. And then
that's great.
It was great, except some mornings my boss would come in and be like, so are you still at the Raccoon Lodge? Because that's what your outgoing message. Like I forget to turn it back to professional the next day at work. That was that
is good. That is funny. I did this in college where if I had a good basketball game, so maybe 4 times, no, I would call. There was this thing where I didn't want to pay for the call, but I wanted to fill in my folks on how I played. So there would be a collect call from, and I don't think it was from me. I think I made up a name. Yeah. And my dad would say, he is not here. I'm sorry, he is not here. And then we'd hang up, and my dad would call me back and pay for the call. And then I'd said, I just scored 20 points at Idaho, and that kind of thing. But I don't think that's nearly as creative as leaving the outgoing message on your location of where you are.
I thought you were going to say your dad gets a call, like you have a collect call from 20 points in Idaho.
Oh, yeah. right, exactly. So paint a postcard of Barcelona. And tell me about your trip, because I have questions.
Well, as we get older, we now, I don't know if it's the same with you, but like I am so impressed with trees. Another thing I'm really impressed with is beautiful buildings.
That's where I thought you were going. Architecture blows me out of the water.
Okay.
I love old architecture.
Have to go to Spain because and then my dad pointed out, which I didn't, I don't think I'm not old enough to think on this level yet. He's like, the reason you are so like it. Picture the best corner or intersection of Fifth Avenue with those stately buildings that almost look like they should be in like federal buildings in DC, especially Madrid, is packed with them. Now, I'm skipping the Gothic neighborhoods with like in Barcelona, we went in one, it was like a 300-year-old bar. In Madrid, I was in it's like a shack that claims to be the oldest restaurant in the world. Anyway, my dad pointed out the reason all of these are here is Spain was not bombed in World War II. It sidestepped that. And so unlike many cities in Germany and many cities in London, London and England, like it was spared that. And that Madrid was one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been. I couldn't believe the buildings.
Time out. Now I have people like Princess Cherry. We've all been to Paris and we find Paris stunning, but Italy is my big oversight that I haven't been to yet.
Oh, wow.
So how would you don't have to compare Spain and Italy, but you're acting like Spain is kind of blowing everything else out of the water, but that's not necessarily true. You're impressed with Italy as well.
Yeah, and I did that Eurail. That was the first time I was in Italy, and then I've been back. And Italy is, it seems like, Jesus, just rip it. How can Italy still get all this credit for the greatest? Just rip it off. Like, do what they do. And I don't know.
What are you talking about? What are you saying?
Their cuisine, in other words.
Okay.
But it really, I hate being so cliche, but it really is that good. That's the problem.
That is correct. That's what I've heard over and over again. Someone's back in the 90s said, Craig, you got to go to Italy. They have focaccia and olive oil at the gas station. They have sandwiches at the gas station that are the best sandwiches you'll ever have. They also, their pasta is healthier because for some reason, much healthier. No GMO.
There's an ingredient. I forget if it's to preserve it or whatever. Apparently now, I normally don't overthink the organic thing, but apparently organic pasta is the only pasta to get here in the States.
Right.
I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I did hear that. But yeah, no, one of those rest stops on the highway, we did stop there when I went last, and they had this food mall inside, and it was like almost like a farmer's market. And they had like panini station there ready with pressed their ham sandwiches and incredible. I'll tell you an interesting story that kind of involves a couple of your worlds. I was up in, is it Healdsburg?
Yeah, that's
I
up
was
in
up
the
in
Napa
Healdsburg,
area. Yeah.
and people are like, "You got to go to this pig guy." I'm like, "The what?" And a friend of mine moved up there. This Hollywood writer, actually, like before the pandemic and all that. So anyway, he's up there. He's like, "We're gonna go." And I guess Healdsburg. I think I'm thinking of Healdsburg has this square.
Yeah.
This really beautiful square. So he has a famous restaurant that has a pig even as the icon, and that's a restaurant. But he also took over. There's a bookstore on the square. I don't know if it's still there, but in the back, he opened a little pizza place, and was like, "You have to go, have to go." I'm like, Jesus Christ, this better be the best pizza place I've been to. But when you walked in, you smelled, you couldn't believe it. But the guy was all about pigs. It was all about prosciutto.
Oh,
it was
boy.
all about, he's like, "Do you want a pepperoni pizza?" I'm like, "I don't normally get pepperoni." He's like, "You're getting a pepperoni pizza."
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. The guy comes and sits with us. And he just said from an early, I think it was, who's Mozza? Who's that guy?
Oh, wait. Wait, Osteria Mozza's down here is Nancy
Yeah.
Silverton, but you're talking about the other guy that used to be there?
Chef. He got a little Me Too, but the Mozza chef.
Batali.
Yeah. Batali's dad was similar. And I guess when he was young, I don't know if he grew up with Batali or whatever, but anyway, he, from a teenager, was just obsessed with basically pork and went to cooking school and did all that. Anyway, he talked then about being in Parma, and there they have these prosciutto, essentially factories.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I went there and I had a local, explain like how obsessed I am. And I've just been this kid just focused like crazy on this. And I wanted a tour, and I got the tour, but I knew there was stuff that I hadn't seen." And they're like, "Well, you can't." And the Italian guy says, "Well, explain to him that no one, really goes back there. Like that's really our secret like area and all that stuff." And he goes, and I rolled up my sleeve, and on his forearm, he had a tattoo of a butcher's diagram of a pig. And the old Italian saw it and goes, "Come on back," and took him backstage. Yeah.
I think we could just tell stories, and then off of each story, they're different stories. And I'm going to tell you a tattoo one in a second. But I just want to say something. I try to be relatively disciplined. I do admit that I eat too much cheese, but I try not to eat too much pork. But I mean, French food, there's a lot of sausage. I like French restaurants. There's obviously a lot of butter in the pastries and everything. I like sausage. I mean, I like prosciutto, but sausage, I just love, and I don't eat too much of it.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful with that. I don't know if you know, but I got all these Omaha steaks because the nice Omaha Steaks people, they like the podcast. And there are people there. Yeah, and so I've been cooking ribeye and filet mignon and a T-bone, and I make the mashed potatoes, and we sit there in the dining room and listen to Chet Baker. And okay, here's my tattoo story.
All right.
Have you been to Republique?
Yes, I think I have. Yeah.
Walter Mansky. And I actually think my understanding is Thomas Keller, who has the French Laundry up there in Yountville, is an investor in Republique, and Walter Mansky owns it. Walter Mansky also has a restaurant called Bicyclette over on Pico, and he also, in that same building, has a place called Mansky, which is a tasting menu. But I know Sean, the beverage, the bar guy and the beverage guy for all of his restaurants. I believe it's pronounced Sean Linklater, and great guy. And he's the bartender, and he has a tattoo. I go there to Republique, and he has a tattoo of Clint Eastwood from the Spaghetti Westerns on his arm right here.
Wow. And
I asked the obvious question. I said, have you ever met Clint? And he says, yeah, I have. So Sean works a lot of events. He goes, I was working an Oscar party, and they were having dinner, and I set down a beverage in front of him, and he saw my arm, and he goes, is that me? And Sean goes, yes. He goes, I'll have the Cobb salad. And that was it.
That was it.
He just goes, is that me? Okay, cool. I'll have the Cobb salad. Like, that's all. Clint just, okay, I got it. That's me. Great. Like, there was nothing else. He just wanted to order a salad.
Well, it is kind of intense, like I see.
Right. Like he thinks the guy's going to like hug him or something, or what?
Well, there's this amazing new comic who I really love, Shane Gillis.
I've heard that name. Why have I heard that name?
I highly recommend you check him out. He has an hour on Netflix now, and I think you'd like it. The part of the thing is, I think Joe Rogan has raised his profile a lot and all that. And a lot of these bros and a lot of the guy, and he seems conservative. In fact, I think he might have gone to West Point, Shane, and he played a little bit of football. He has stories about that. But I think a lot of those dudes assume he's a right guy. And so he starts his podcast off talking about like how great we are. And like you go in these like other countries are kind of shit. And they're all like, yeah. Anyway, he then takes a turn because he's a very sort of open-minded and I think left-leaning guy. Anyway, he does a bit about I think it's a autistic relative of his or someone on this with Down syndrome, maybe. Anyway, in the bit, there's a line about the guy just is obsessed with grilled cheese sandwiches. And when they go to restaurants, he sneaks out grilled cheese sandwiches. And this is the guy, on the spectrum. And there's a little line. This is a long way to go to say, all of a sudden on my Instagram feed, which knows I like Shane Gillis, all these dudes are showing their grilled cheese tattoos with the line, I make them at night. And it's like, that's intense. Like that's for life. And I think I understand, Clint. Like if someone is doing that, that's intensity.
Yeah. You don't want to, you might end up having to push him away or talk to him for 15 minutes. Although Sean is nothing like that. He's the most low-key guy in the world.
Right.
And great guy. Anyway, that's hilarious. Can you, when you're in Barcelona, can I hear you order, I'll have paella with the Chianti. Can you do that? Can you speak any of the language?
The first thing I learn in any country is I'm sorry. And in Italy, it's the best because it's scusi. And I use scusi. In fact, I use scusi so much in Italy, which I haven't been to in a long time. I was saying scusi in Spain, but it's lo siento or pardon. Pardon is the real best. That's the word I just use everywhere. I hate to say this, but really the whole country speaks English. And
I'm sorry. I like to hear that. But when I was in Paris, I think I told you what I learned. I was 23 years old. I learned carafe d'eau, je t'aime, tu es très jolie. Those are the things. I love you. You're very beautiful.
The appointment, and will this go away? What does that? What does that translate to?
Water, carafe d'eau, water. I need some water. Je t'aime. I love you.
Isn't water ooh or something?
I don't know. But I kept getting water. But maybe it was vodka they were giving me when I was water.
No, I'm pretty good at. They can tell I'm ashamed, which I think is healthy, and I basically do a version of como se dice, and I kind of work it. I kind of work it out. I should. All to say, I really should put in more effort. All right, so this is when I thought of you over there. Is my brother-in-law, who's the greatest guy in the world. My brother-in-law and I go out to explore. And the kids just crash, and my dad, who's in his 80s.
So I didn't know how many people were with you. I thought you might have been going over with just a lady friend, but you're with the whole family?
No lady friend. 9 of us over there. My sister.
Whoa.
And my sister has 2 girls, and I have 2 girls. So the 4 girls who are thicker than thieves, the 4 girls, my sister and her husband, and then my dad and me. So we go over, but we go into like in Barcelona. We go like, let's go. And I look up like what bars you have to go to, like, like legendary bars and stuff. Yeah. And we go in one place, and it's the closest I can get over here. Like it's almost like a McSorley's feel. And you're like surprised they have electricity, and the place is twice as old as McSorley's. And you go in, and they have taps, and it's the only thing that is served there besides olives, which are served almost with every cocktail in town, is a little bowl of olives, a little, cool little tray. It's sherry.
Oh,
and I'm
the sweet sherry that Niles used to drink and Fraser would drink.
And I'm like, I don't know if I'm a sherry fan. Turns out I'm a sherry fan. And the menu, kind of like McSorley's, when you go to McSorley's, I don't know if you remember, the choice is light or dark. That's your only choice. And so they had, and someone at the bar spoke English. He wasn't that good, so it wasn't working. He was trying to explain to me.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you're new to sherry, they get they get stronger as they go. So in other words, a lot of people
Oh.
do the menu of the 6 sherries up there, and you go in order from top to bottom.
Right.
And so we leapfrogged. We had 3 sherries, and they're small, and they were amazing. And then the other thing, then I got to Madrid. We found the oldest bar, or one of the oldest bars in Madrid, and same thing, tap. And I was under the impression it was sherry. It was vermouth.
Oh.
Sweet vermouth. And I'm like, I know I'm not a fan of vermouth. Turns out I'm a fan of vermouth. And
Wow.
it's sweet vermouth from a tap. And then they add a little water. And during the day, adults are in there during the day. Like, though, it's almost like espresso in Italy, like standing at the bar, and they'll come in, and anyway, it's one of the most social countries I've ever been to.
That is great. And who chose this is a big family thing. Who chose Barcelona? And did you struggle? Like, did you have to do everything as a group, or could you go drink with your brother-in-law just the 2 of you, or
everything? The girls went out and should have been a better parent about it, but my sister was there and she tracks them and everything, but they'd go out to a club at night.
Okay.
And no, we very much did our own things. My dad definitely has to like take it a little easier. So a museum will knock him out,
Sure.
And so he has to go back to the room. And so we always got central hotels, which in both cities, which were great. But another thing was in Madrid, everyone's like, you got to go to the Mercado. I didn't know what the Mercado, I thought it might be one of those, like in Paris. Spain, like Paris, takes Christmas very seriously. And I thought it might be a pop-up, like, Christmas market. The Mercado, the best way I can describe it is it's very similar to the farmer's market on Fairfax.
Oh, yeah.
In that there's permanent stands. There's a permanent butcher guy with all his stuff on ice. There's a permanent fish guy. There's permanent spices guy. All this. But additionally, in this kind of it has a roof like the farmer's market on Fairfax, but generally it's, rain will go through this thing. You know what I mean? It has also, I'd say, 15 bars.
Oh, wow.
None of them serve hard alcohol. It's wine, beer, vermouth, sherry. The girls loved it. There was one like stand that only served Aperol spritzes. They lost their minds. Yeah. And it's kind of like social. It was the most and families.
Yeah.
Big families were there and everybody drinking. And I don't think it was just because it was Christmas. Like, it was the most festive. But
it sounds like it almost sounds like this was a more enjoyable trip than when you and I went to Minneapolis for the Timberwolves training camp. It sounds like this was more electric.
Also social. Yeah. Also very social.
But wait a second. How many days were you there? Like 9 days? I went
to that great steak place you took me to in Minneapolis.
Manny's Steakhouse.
Yep.
But how many days were you there?
Not a lot at all. We did 3 nights in each city.
Okay. So you're in Barcelona, Madrid, and where else?
That's it. No, we took a high-speed train. And for the record, those things go too fast. The whole time I'm in it, it's 200 miles an hour. I'm like, no cows, no cows, no cows, no cows. Like, or no kid throwing like a log out over the fence and like, please, please. Like, I can't believe I remember Ross Abrach used to, one of our great writers at Kilburn, he loved one Amtrak because he had a million.
Oh, he had a million Amtrak jokes. He had the fat jokes that he liked when, Marlon Brando got in a car accident and lost a lot of gravy. Instead of blood, it was gravy. He loved those things.
Yes.
But anyway, what's the flight from? It's not nonstop from LA to
nonstop
to Barcelona or to Madrid, or where do you fly into? Yeah. And what is that? How many hours is that?
11 and change.
Oh, that's not terrible.
Well,
because it's like 14 to go to Australia, I think, from LAX.
I know. The East Coast, we didn't realize how it's almost a little further than coming to LA to go to Europe. The East Coast has it. So my dad flew from Florida and it was such a different flight. So wait, on the flight back, I will say this guy on my right, and I'm packed back in the steerage with my girls and stuff. And this guy on my right is very flamboyant, very, very over the top. And he has a dog and it's all about this dog, but it's a healthy sized dog. It's a Frenchie. And he's fawning over it so much, and it's blankets, it's everything. It was so distracting, and everyone going by stops to say hi, but he couldn't stop. Like, honestly, I didn't even pay near that attention when I flew with my young children and babies.
Right.
It was that's not even a joke. It wasn't even close.
Right.
And even when it was sleeping, he'd like be moving it and fussing with it. It was so distracting. I didn't even realize this guy gave the dog the aisle seat and he was sitting in the middle seat.
Oh my God. That's
What a
hilarious.
weirdo.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Dude, this is probably not fair. And again, I don't go to Europe much, but I do know I have to go to Italy at some point. So I'm going to do that. And I have to go back to Paris and I have to go back to London because I was there in my 20s. You can tell as you're older, you have more of appreciation for these cities and the architecture and the history when you're older. That's pretty obvious, right?
Oh my God. And Italy, nothing, of course. Italy is insane. Rome, I mean, all of it. Rome, it's like, all right, here's a bridge, which every city, it's a car, but also pedestrian bridge, like not a big, Brooklyn, kind of Brooklyn Bridge, I guess, but you know what I mean? It's more, and it has statues on it. Oh, well, those are world famous statues from some of the greatest artists that have ever lived.
Right.
It's just everywhere you look, it's art. Even things that they don't call art are art.
So when I was 23 with the team in Paris, my memories are this is how the brain was so I'm walking around Paris at night with the guys, and all of a sudden there's a bar with music. The doors are open, and they're playing Barry White. I can't get enough of Your Love Babe. So I'm going crazy. Oh my God, it's Barry White. It's Barry White in Paris. I'm in Paris and I hear Barry White live music. Someone's covering a Barry White song.
Yeah.
Then we go to the discotheques because this is the late 80s. And I drank beer at the time because I didn't drink vodka until my 30s. I'm drinking beer and there are all these girls and you're a young man. And I just said, I could do this for the next 10 years of my life. Just go to drink beer, dance with girls, meet girls. And it was great because the DJ would go, Madonna, dress you up. You hear the French. And it was just a magical time. And here's the obnoxious thing. I've told this before, but I don't think you know it. But we're on is it called the Metro underneath? Or I can't remember in Paris.
Oh, yeah,
underground.
In Paris, yeah.
So I'm on there and we're during the day and we're with the fellas. And I just, I'm talking and I said, you remember that old song, the roof is on fire? Yeah. We don't give the MF burn, let the MF burn. And I was like, the Louvre is on fire. We don't give a damn, let the Mona Lisa burn. I just thought it was a nice word play. The French people looked at me, dirty look. And I was like, okay, maybe that's a little obnoxious, But if I went back, there's so many.
You'd do it again.
No. There's so many hotels I want to go to in like London, the Savoy, and have a martini. And there's a place called Duke's in London, which is where they make the famous martinis. So I just think it's great. We missed you for Christmas, but we're glad you're back. And congratulations, I think, to one of your daughters who goes to Michigan because they just won was that a big deal or do you care?
Huge deal. And I mean, those, never mind. As you said, I kind of dropped out of sports because I'm a Knicks and Jets fan.
Right. But Knicks are playing well. Knicks are playing well.
And so I would not kiss Aaron Rodgers. And so those two, so I was in New Orleans for New Year's and the most European American city.
Along with San Francisco, correct.
Right. That's true. And so I'm there and this couple down the bar had Washington here. So the Sugar Bowl was in New Orleans. That's not why we were there. That occurred to us after we booked the trip. So we go to New Orleans. The Sugar Bowl is there, which is Texas versus Washington. Well, I mean, all of obnoxious Texas was there, dressed as stupid cowboys, and just so loud and it was crazy. So we see these Washington couple over there, and they look at us, and it's game day, and the Michigan game's the first game, and that's on. And they're like, "You guys are rooting for Michigan?" We're like, "Yeah." And they kind of like whisper, like, "Yeah. We hope you beat Alabama." And we're like, "Yeah, we hope you beat Tech." And it was very much all of a sudden it became go North. We were rooting so hard for the North to beat the South in both games.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it was the whole city was like, "Oh, we should seek shelter when Texas gets out of this game," because they were shit faced at like 4 p.m. The game didn't start till 7. and
Yeah.
then they got embarrassed. And
Right.
so, and then rooting against Alabama is just the greatest thing in the world.
Right. They're a
And
dynasty. They're a dynasty.
and so my girlfriend at the time, she had a funny line after. She's like, I think education won the day.
Very snobbish of her.
Well, of course,
So,
yeah. And UT will be like, we're better than Washington. And they're not.
I just had a
Generally.
beautiful thought, and then it went away.
Oh, no.
Oh, I know what it is. So, do you know? So, Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, the head coach. Are you familiar with his dad, Jack Harbaugh, who was also a coach, and their childhoods? Because Jim has a brother, John, who coaches in the NFL.
Yeah.
Do you remember, the famous saying that the dad would say to them?
I don't. I do know
Oh,
about all these characters, but
oh, well, Jim would tell the story about they lived in the smallest house because I guess his dad was, coaching, but moving up. Maybe he was coaching high school at the time, and they had this he says it's the smallest house. And I share a room with my brother, John. And my dad would come in and he'd say, "Who's got it better than us? Nobody." It was a really positive thing. And the other day when they won, they put Jack on the microphone. He goes, "Who's got it better than us? Nobody." And I just love how positive it is. And I like that. I like
a
that.
healthy dose of denial, which goes a long way.
Oh, by the way, so you don't have to answer questions about your girlfriend. I know this is private stuff, but it's entertaining for people. But so did you not want to spend Christmas with her? Was it a family thing, or how did it work, and how's it going? And you don't have to answer any of this. You're dating a girl. You're now divorced, and you're dating a girl, right?
Yeah, divorced. It turns out 10 years ago. I didn't realize it was because it happened on New Year's. It actually happened. I learned I was getting divorced, not to go down that road, but in Switzerland of all things. So anyway, no, it's going great. It's been a year and a half, a little more than that. But no, Spain, we were trying to go in summer. My niece is in Oregon. Let's go Ducks. Oregon has the quarter system. Without getting into details, all of a sudden she couldn't go because her internship was like, we can't wait another week for you. Like, you're getting out of school so late. So our summer trip got moved to the only week that the family could do.
Right.
And also she has two girls like I do. There's too many girls in this whole podcast. Anyway, she has two daughters like I do. So we both kind of have spent two Christmases, and then we get together separate, and then we get together.
Okay.
So that's the other. She lives in Nashville. I go down there. They hate us Los Angelinos in Nashville. They feel we've ruined their city, and they're probably right.
Does she and her daughters, are they aware that Mike Gibbons is a funny man?
Yeah, and I love yes, I know it sounds very unhumble, but I also I also do like, they think I'm sometimes like dad joke, like
oh yeah,
like there's Mike, and I like that. Actually, I like that there's I'm keeping it obnoxious as well sometimes.
Okay, so prepping my book, people are clamoring for my book. I'm just keeping notes. I like to run things by people. Most of the book will be 90% anecdotal, uplifting, positive, entertaining stories. But there will have to be a chapter on leadership. Probably won't write the book for years. I'll run things by you and others. I always view you as very level-headed, but I think I said to you once that I thought you were a moderate liberal, and you go, "No, I'm far left." But maybe I'm talking about your temperament, which is kind of all I care about. I'm one of those guys that I like temperament. But first of all,
well, I used to say I'm very left, but I now hate the very left so much that I have to be careful how I say that.
Right. Well, we're going to work on that today. That's what I have here. I have a couple of things. But first, let me ask you, working title. I could call the book The Life Gorgeous, or I could call it Above the Fray, The Adventures of Lord Kilby.
That sounds like a subtitle.
Yeah. Do you prefer? Oh, I see. You're saying Life Gorgeous, Above the Fray. Okay. Here's from Deadline Hollywood. And this was, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months ago, but I just loved it. It was so entertaining. The headline was, Succession star Brian Cox says, quote, woke culture is truly awful and, quote, blames millennials. So the guy writes the article, the reporter, and in the article, like pretty early on, he gives, according to Merriam-Webster dictionary, being woke is being aware of and actively attentive to important social facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice. He gives the definition, which is kind of the definition of just being a good person, as if to say, Brian Cox is against this. And I just wanted to say to the writer, no, it's not about that. It's about going overboard. It's all about going overboard and being full of rage as you try to be self-righteous and shame people. Does that sound right?
Yeah. And the movie, did you see the movie Tar?
I have not seen the movie Tar.
Okay.
I just rewatched the Jason Bourne trilogy, the first three.
Okay.
Does that do anything?
Very close. Kate Blanchett is obviously unbelievable in everything.
One of the greatest actresses we have today.
So you really don't have to see it, but you would have loved this one line. So she's this, conductor, very accomplished, and she's teaching a class at Juilliard. And she's like a guest lecturer because she's so famous. And she comes in, and there's a young, I guess you could call it millennial, although he's probably younger than that now. But there's a young student. And I maybe it was Brahms, I'm not sure, but she asked him about, and he's very gifted. And he's like, well, what about now when you study Brahms? And he's like, I didn't study Brahms. And he's not studying Brahms because of what we've learned about Brahms. And I think it's Brahms. It doesn't matter. But it was like a great conductor who now has been, the woke police have found out maybe he was bad with women or whatever. It doesn't even matter. Anyway, the line that matters is, she brings up a great argument against them. Like, so with that, then are you not going to study Picasso? Are you not going to be like, are you just going to refuse? And the line she settled on was, don't be so eager to be offended.
Oh yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. I guess it's, I don't know. I don't know what, again, I think it's important for somebody, not me, because I don't have the patience, but to analyze and say, why are these people doing this? How damaged are they? Why does it make them so happy or temporarily happy? Because they're miserable human beings. No.
Yeah.
But that's, by the way, I'm moving off that. Thank you for letting me walk through a couple of those things. You mentioned Kate Blanchett. Have you ever, I'm sure the answer is yes. Have you seen Blue Jasmine?
Yeah. I can't get my girls to watch any Woody Allen movie, speaking of this whole talk.
Yeah.
But yes, Blue Jasmine I really liked.
She's unreal.
Yeah.
In that. That's amazing. There's a guy named Adam Gopnik.
Yeah.
And he was on Bill Maher, this was maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, but they asked the question about, do we cancel Michael Jackson? And all that. And he said, no. And he was giving the historical figures who were, you wouldn't be able to read Edgar Allan Poe, or you wouldn't, all these different people. And it's just so short-sighted and it's so simplistic. But that's what we have, and it's a phase, I hope, and who knows what's going to happen.
Well, that comedian I told you about, do watch him, Shane Gillis. He talks about taking a tour of George Washington's estate and the slave quarters.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up. I want to apologize. I didn't do a Life Gorgeous quiz for you today. It's the first time I haven't done one. I was busy. When I get off air, when I finish it, I'll quickly tell you why. I was a little busy last night. I went to Republique for my first martini in a couple weeks.
Oh, good for you.
It was kind of fun. It has to do with a little real estate. Now I'm hinting, but I'll tell you But anyway, what else did I want to tell you? So what have you been watching? Because I pick my spots during the NBA season. I have to watch a lot of Timberwolves games, and then I pick my spots. I finally watched Maestro. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I haven't seen Maestro yet.
Okay. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it is. The rating is 6.8, which is not blowing anyone away. It started off a little slow, but it did pick up. I'm glad I saw it. I think Bradley Cooper is very talented.
I just saw Oppenheimer 2 days ago.
Okay, I have not seen that. And what are your thoughts?
I like it. I know it sounds like I'm trying to tell a joke, but it's a little hard following the bomb, and the bomb is about 2/3 of the way through the movie.
Okay.
But it's told very well. And by the way, what happens after the bomb is fascinating story about him and how America kind of turned on him. I'm so ignorant. My whole life, when I heard about the Manhattan Project and Oppenheimer, I thought Oppenheimer was German. I just totally assumed that. Upper West Side.
Oh, Yeah, that's
Rich kid
great.
from the Upper West Side who went to my ex-wife's high school, which is this elitist, incredibly woke high school in Riverdale.
Yeah, I think he was classmates with Lou Carnesecca. So the other thing, there's a movie. Oh, by the way, do you like Interstellar? Just random. Do you like?
Yeah, it was a little hard to follow, but yeah, I mean, all his movies are quality, no matter
Right.
what you think of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I heard Interstellar. It's lengthy and it didn't do as well in the theaters, but people like watching it at home. And I watched it right on this couch here. The monitors over there, and I have surround sound. And when they went through the wormhole, our Princess Cherry and I were holding on to each other. The whole room was
yeah.
vibrating when we went through the wormhole. It was so dynamic.
Well, you'll
Uh,
like Oppenheimer. Also, one of the guilds, I got a screener, and he made them. I think he made whatever happened. It's a Blu-ray DVD because
right.
they just want you to have the best. Because that explosion,
Oh,
he didn't use a CGI. That
yeah.
explosion, or most of it, was real and stuff. But you'll get a lot of that sound in that as well.
I think the explosion was shot over here in Culver City, where they did the Munchkins, Wizard of Oz.
You saw the little debris flying everywhere. And by the way, a lot of martinis in Oppenheimer.
Oh, yeah, a lot of cigarettes in Maestro. Everyone's smoking a cigarette.
Same with Oppenheimer.
One final thing, there's a movie I keep mentioning to people because I rewatch it from the early 70s. I want to see if you've seen it. Every time I mention it, they go, oh, yeah, it's a great movie. You ever seen Robert Redford in 3 Days of the Condor?
Not in a while, but I know,
Oh,
isn't that last scene him? Oh, never. I don't want to spoil it, but
no,
yeah,
it's good. At the New York Times.
yeah,
And then Cliff Robertson, oh, you dumb son of a bitch. You didn't do that. Did you really? How do you know they're going to print it? It was great.
right.
I just love that. See, that's why I like Jason Bourne. I like how Brian Cox and these guys, I like that argument and that stress and that evil. I find like in a Jason Bourne, the car chases. Okay, great. I want to see the tension between the people arguing and the power struggle.
Oh, well, listen, I hate to keep saying because you think it's my favorite movie of the year, which it's not. But in Oppenheimer, there's a lot of that. The wise old guy who's like, that's not how this game is played. And then someone who's, shooting from the hip or speaking from their heart. And it has that. It has that power structure of a very sort of accomplished, embedded government men who know better, and you got to take some losses here, and someone not willing to do that.
Right. Michael, I want to thank you. I'll see you soon. We'll figure out. I did want to say it bothers me. I forgot this.
Uh-oh.
It bothers me. You and Goldie said, "Oh, we'll come over to this, part of town. I'm over in beautiful Hancock Park. There are a couple places we could go." You said something,
Uh-oh.
and I'll never accept it.
Oh,
I
no.
don't ever want to see you on a scooter in Los Angeles. It's so unsafe. It's so unsafe.
But I grew up on motorcycles, and I'm pretty good. I've had it since 2003.
Right.
So 20 years, I'm pretty good. But you're right. I mean, obviously,
Not about you. It's about the other drivers.
no, of course, and that's what I'm thinking about. Listen, texting and driving is so much more challenging, but still, oh boy. All righty. Thank you for your well wishes. No, I will not. Well, the good thing about when you do drink and you're out,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take out a family. I'll be the casualty if something happens.
So what a wonderful way to look at it.
You see?
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thank you. I look forward to the book.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's my old friend Gibby, Mike Gibbons. That's our show. We'll see you next time. And remember, young people, I'm proud of you.